Should the British monarchy be worried about the future of the crown? Is the crown actually in decline? Because that is what a new poll is revealing, showing that only 55% of Britons support continuing a monarchy, with 27% wanting a republic. Now, that's a pretty low bar, 27%, 1 in 4. But I would argue, and I believe this is a growing segment of the population. And the British monarchy has a right to be concerned, and they are acting like they are concerned. But is the monarchy doing enough to right the ship and prove that they are some of the greatest assets that the British have? I'm not so sure, but we're going to go into the details of this survey today, guys, because there are such important little nuggets to take out of here. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I do provide compelling royal commentary, so please hit that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you back. And let's hear from one of today's sponsors, Cowboy Colostrum.
Guys, this spring, if you're ready to finally see real results, healthier gut, glowing skin, stronger hair, and steady energy, you need to add colostrum to your daily routine. It all starts in the gut. And once your gut is right, everything else follows. Today's sponsor, like I said, is Cowboy Colostrum, which offers the highest quality bovine, that's cow colostrum, available in the U.S. Cowboy Colostrum is 100% made in America from 100% American grass-fed cows. And unlike other colostrum brands, Cowboy Colostrum is true first-day whole colostrum, rich in bioactives like immunoglobulins and growth factors. And don't worry at all, Cowboy Colostrum only collects the surplus from the moms after the baby calves have had their fill. And this is not processed or stripped down. Cowboy Colostrum offers whole, full fat, and high in protein colostrum for the ultimate nutrient density, making it the highest quality bovine colostrum you can buy. So this helps improve gut health, which improves everything else: immunity, hair growth, skin clarity, stronger nails, steady energy, and reduced bloating. And the results aren't just something you read about. They're something you can actually see and feel. There are multiple different flavors, including chocolate, which I have, and Madagascar vanilla, matcha, strawberry, that you can put into your coffee or smoothie or milk like I'm doing and enjoy. So for a limited time, our listeners can get up to 25% off their entire order. Just head to cowboycolostrum.com/royal. Use code ROYAL at checkout. That's 25% off when you use code ROYAL at cowboycolostrum.com/royal.
All right, Cowboy Colostrum, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. It makes trips like these possible, guys. I'm currently in Brussels to cover the Japanese state visit. I have a couple of photography events coming up, which I am so excited about. So can't wait to share more of those with you guys as we go on this journey, which is oh so fun. And Belgium definitely did have a point there where maybe the monarchy, let's say, had a bit of a moment with King Albert, but things are going really solid here. In fact, I would argue most of the monarchies in Europe, despite sometimes a couple of scandals here and there, are doing pretty well, except for, of course, the Norwegians with Marius Borg-Holmby, his case, Martha Louise, so much going on in the Norwegian monarchy that is dragging it down. And surprisingly, the British. The British have been going through it the last couple of years, and there are so many factors here, because when I posted my reaction to this survey on social media, I get a couple of responses. Number one, I get people who are like, the monarchy's fine, don't worry about this. This survey is wrong. It doesn't include everything. Oh my gosh, it was taken in March. Like, so many kind of, I would argue, excuses distract from the conclusions of the report. Then I have another side, some people commenting on Catherine and William and going along with the work-shy narrative that has been around for well over a decade now. And that has been a long time criticism of the Waleses, been a long time criticism. And then we also have the people who are just like Harry and Meghan, Andrew, that's dragging him down. And they're all right in different ways. There is so much going on here and so much to examine. And I have a couple of things I want to share, because I really went through and I was like, how do we look at this holistically? Because people just react to headlines. They just react to the negative and they don't want to hear anything negative about the British monarchy. But guys, that is not reality. The reality is, I think in the UK, due to a variety of factors, there is either an anti-monarchy sentiment or just apathy towards it. And again, there are so many pieces to this. This is not, let's say, a one-shot thing. You can't just blame Andrew. You can't just blame Harry and Meghan. There are so many little pieces to this puzzle. So my attempt here in this video is to actually organize the puzzle or help you see the puzzle better together. So let's look at what the actual report is saying, because again, you get analysis in the news, but here is what it says. And of course, this was printed just a couple of days ago. So it was printed June 19th. And here's what it says. This is from IPSOS. I'm not sure which way to say it. It says 55% of Britons say they would favor Britain becoming a monarchy, 27% a republic, and 18% don't know. Of course, don't know, I always feel like is a good segment because you can either push it for or against. And so the British have an opportunity there to kind of move some of those 18%. But this 20%, guys, it's not something to ignore. And I see too many people who just want to bury their heads in the sand on this issue. And this is not a conspiracy. I see other people coming up with conspiracy theories regarding this and these sorts of things. But guys, I hope through this video and showing you all the things that are factoring into this low metric, you'll understand why this exists. It says, while the monarchists outnumber the Republicans 2-1, this is the lowest level of support that has been recorded for the monarchy with this poll company, IPSOS, since the series began in 1993. The lowest of the low was 60% in 2021, of course, after the Harry and Meghan interview. This was particularly driven by change in the views of young people. And young people generally, guys, are not as keen on the monarchy as older adults. So it says just 33% of 18 to 34-year-olds support the monarchy, 45% support a republic. Older people remain staunchly pro-monarchy, 74% support, 14% a republic. And the satisfaction with King Charles and William remains high, they say. I would argue, compared to some of their contemporaries, these are mid scores. Yes, they're better than politicians, but politicians can be voted out of the office. The challenge with the monarchy is they're there for their entire lives. And if they're not particularly popular, that's kind of concerning. So they are at 60% and 71% respectively. And 60% still believe the monarchy has an important role to play in the future of Britain. I would argue that number should be 80 to 90%, if not 90% plus. That it's only 60? Guys, that's not good. That's not particularly strong. So it talks about sort of the history of the poll here, and you can see the graph. And then this is concerning, this is the same age range as Catherine and William, where we see basically it kind of mimics the initial report with 51% support the monarchy, 28% a republic, and 21% don't know. This is again down from highs in 2012 and 13 when 78% of middle-aged people back then backed the monarchy and slightly lower than 60% support 21 years ago in 2005. So of course, the older generation, they're not the ones to worry about. And then you kind of got here. So they kind of break it down by age. And of course, Charles's ratings at 60% are lower than his mother got. She had a 79% satisfaction between 1992 and 2022. That's very impressive. And of course, the satisfaction goes down based on ages. And Prince William was at once at a peak of 89% and is down to 71%. That again isn't good for him, I would say. That's not necessarily super positive. So Gideon Skinner, director of UK political research at IPSOS, says, IPSOP, I'm going to say IPSOP, latest research on public attitudes to the monarchy reveals an ongoing trend that the royal family should not ignore. While the majority of the country remains pro-monarchy and outnumbers Republicans 2-1, support for the institution is the lowest we have measured for 33 years. This is underpinned by a growing age gap in views, with younger generations now more Republican than monarchist, and even middle-aged people much less supportive than the peak of the royals' popularity in the Diamond Jubilee year of 2012. So it says the monarchy still has its strengths. King Charles and especially Prince William remain personally popular, with satisfaction ratings that most politicians could only dream of. But to turn this trend around will require convincing young people, in particular, that the monarchy still has an important, relevant role to play in the future of the country. And I don't think that analysis is wrong. I don't really think that you can dismiss the conclusions there. And yes, there are some caveats, as there always are. They did the poll a little bit differently this time. And so, as the Telegraph explains, polling company pointed out that has changed its methodology since June 2025, using an online random probability panel instead of a quota telephone survey, adding that comparisons with previous waves need to be made with caution. So, I mean, there's a caveat here. There's always caveats. But if you look at YouGov, you actually see something, I would argue, that's somewhat similar. So here's the 64% of the public believe Britain should continue to have a monarchy. So there is a 9-point difference. Let me pull it up here. There's a 9-point difference between these two surveys, which is quite substantial. You would obviously want it to be a bit closer, but obviously as polling companies are adjusting, because what they used to do, and this could be a factor here, I'd have to see exactly how they did this. But if they called people on the phone, it's most likely older people who have landlines. That's generally how they conduct polls. I think they're trying to figure out how to do it at least a bit better online, because if you just put up a random poll online, you're not really going to get a good metric. So these are not, a poll you'll see on the Telegraph. There is actually a Telegraph poll saying, do you still support the monarchy? Do you think Britain should have a monarchy? And people can vote. And it's not scientific, but these are scientific polls, both YouGov and ISOP. So they are able to actually look at real numbers. So these are not fake numbers. These are not made up numbers. These are real numbers, and they're done with really real polling organizations. And I wanted to highlight something, because this was an interesting poll they did, because on the 100th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's birth, she would have been the most popular royal if she was still alive today. And guys, what I want to point out here is that the two most popular royals in a recent poll are dead. The dead reign the British monarchy in some ways. And even though it looks like a percentage between William and his mother, a percentage or two, at the same time, I'm like, they're all being beaten by two women who have passed away. One almost 30 years ago now. She's still the second most popular royal in the British monarchy. That's actually a big problem. If what people are looking for are people who are dead and not the living, if they're more interested in the dead than the living aren't, I don't think, living up to their potential and expectations. So next, obviously, is Prince William. Princess Catherine is shortly behind him. We have Princess Anne, who has really, I think, risen through the polls and shown her merit. King Charles, the monarch, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down on the list. That's not necessarily great. You want the monarch to be higher. And next to him is Prince Philip, who is also dead. So lots of deceased people here, sort of kind of having a big impact on how people perceive the British monarchy. And then going on, you have Edward Camilla, who is unpopular herself. I think it's a little unwarranted, and then you have Harry, Meghan, and of course, Andrew. I don't even know why they do Andrew. I think they just do Andrew to throw up a punching bag. And so those results are not, I would argue, very good. You want the current royals to be outpacing the former dead royals. But given that they're not, what is really going on here? What is dragging the monarchy down? And again, it's not a one problem issue. I was actually looking at it, and I actually, as I was doing research and trying to create, I think, a good framework here of understanding.
Is the British monarchy dying from the inside out? For centuries, the crown survived world wars, revolutions, and bitter family betrayals. But a quiet, devastating shift in the shadows of the British public now threatens to undo it all. A brutal new poll has just exposed a reality the palace desperately tried to hide. Support for the monarchy has plummeted to its lowest level in over 3 decades, revealing a deeply fractured nation where the younger generation is actively ready to tear down the throne. Welcome back to Royal News Network. I'm Brittany. Today, we are stripping away the royal public relations machine to dissect the cold, hard metrics of a crisis that Buckingham Palace can no longer ignore. If you want the unfiltered truth behind the crowns and the scandals, make sure you stay with us until the very end as we piece together this dangerous puzzle. The figures are a catastrophic wake-up call. According to the latest scientific data from Ipsos, barely 55% of Britain still supports maintaining the monarchy. Meanwhile, more than a quarter of the population actively wants a republic, and 18% remain completely undecided. To the untrained eye, a 2-to-1 margin in favor of the king might look safe, but behind closed doors, royal aides are panicking because this is the single worst polling result recorded since the series began in 1993. Even in the dark days following Harry and Meghan's explosive bombshell interview, the floor never dropped this low until now. But the true existential threat isn't just the overall drop. It is a terrifying demographic divide that spells disaster for the future of the crown. Among young adults aged 18 to 34, the monarchy has already lost the war, with a staggering 45% favoring a republic compared to a pathetic 3 in 10 who support the king. The institution is surviving entirely on the loyalty of the older generation, but as time marches on, that buffer is evaporating, and even the middle-aged demographic, once a staunch pillar of royal support, is abandoning the ship at an unprecedented rate. Later in this video, we will look at a shocking financial surrender the palace is about to make, a desperate move that proves just how terrified they truly are. To navigate a crumbling landscape and maintain the stamina needed to analyze these high-stakes shifts, keeping your own foundation strong is essential. That is why it is vital to focus on what keeps us grounded and energized from the inside out, starting exactly where true health begins, the gut. Today's deep dive is brought to you by Cowboy Colostrum, the ultimate upgrade for your daily routine. Crafted from 100% American grass-fed cows, it provides true first-day whole colostrum packed with bioactives, immunoglobulins, and growth factors, only collecting the surplus after the calves have had their complete fill. By restoring gut health, it unlocks steady energy, radiant skin, and reduced bloating, results you can genuinely see and feel. For a limited time, you can get up to 25% off your entire order by heading to cowboycolostrum.com/royal and using the code ROYAL at checkout. A premium boost to keep you sharp as we uncover what is truly dragging down the House of Windsor. While I'm currently on the ground in Brussels capturing the intricacies of the Japanese state visit, looking across Europe reveals a stark contrast. Most continental monarchies are navigating their modern eras with remarkable stability, despite the occasional family drama, with perhaps the sole exception of Norway's recent compounding scandals. Yet the British royal family seems uniquely trapped in a downward spiral, and the defensive excuses flooding social media, claiming the data is outdated or flawed, simply miss the larger, terrifying truth. This isn't a temporary glitch. It is a deep-seated culture of public apathy. The rot runs so deep that the living royals are being actively defeated by the ghosts of their own past. In a stunning twist of public sentiment, the most popular figures in recent polling aren't even alive today. Queen Elizabeth II still commands an untouchable legacy, and Princess Diana, nearly 30 years after her tragic passing, remains the second most popular royal in the world. When a modern, living institution is being thoroughly outperformed by the deceased, it means the current torchbearers are fundamentally failing to live up to the expectations of the modern age. Look at the current leadership metrics. King Charles sits at a mediocre 60% approval rating, a devastating drop from the near 80% satisfaction his mother consistently maintained. Prince William, who once enjoyed a peak of 89%, has slipped down to 71%. Even the highly respected Princess Catherine and the tirelessly hardworking princess and cannot fully offset the weight of the family's most polarizing figures.